Hello, we are Supremely Black. We are Flake, Rose, and Spears. And this week we have a special guest with us, Katherine Allen. How you doing this week, Kat? Or
I'm well.
Catherine?
I'm well, and you?
I'm good, I'm good. So just let the people know how your week's been, what you've been doing or what you've been trying to get accomplished this week, whether it be personally, business wise, or just, anything.
Okay. This week I started out um, running. So I run on Sunday, and then I had to work Monday and today in New Orleans. So I worked there, and then I actually just got off the plane maybe an hour or so ago. So that's been my work week so far, and it's Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, it's Tuesday. All day and all night.
So
So
I'll just be relaxing the rest of the week.
okay, that's what's up. That's what's up. How about y'all, co-host? How y'all week been?
What up, your big kinfolk, J.Flake? Man, my week has been very busy, and I'm not complaining about that, man. Still in the process of moving. House look a wreck, boxes everywhere, TVs laying on floors. So man, just going through this selling of a house and buying a house process has been it's a crazy situation, but it's gonna all pan out in the end and everything. But everything's been good, man. Can't complain at all.
That's what's up. Hey, Flake, did you actually close on that one you was talking about you wanted, or how did that turn out? I know you said you was gonna give us an update.
Man, it that'll be a whole podcast if I told you. Because we did some we had to do some back and forth. The seller wanted to act the fool at the end. And he actually ended up screwing himself, to be honest with you. But so it turned out on the good for our end, but we just had to go through a few hoops to get that taken care of. So by the time this episode drop, I should be having keys in my hand to my new home and handing keys off to somebody else that bought my home.
That's dope. Congrats.
Appreciate
I know that equity ought to be pretty straight, man. So I know you get
it. About to change my phone number on y'all.
By the time this episode drop, I ain't got the same number. Don't you worry about it.
Right.
Yeah. But nah, man, it's D.Rose. Everything been cool this week, man. Like Kat said, I feel like my whole weekend is gonna consist of running right now since we're in training season. But family good, everybody straight. I can't complain. How yours been, Spirit?
Everything been good. Honestly, yeah, everything been good. Got some good news. I started a new job on the 9th. Raise, better hours, better shifts, everything. So that's a blessing and that's a plus. So that's been good. I guess I will let the people know. For me and Rose, Katherine is one of our business partners in our nonprofit. And so she's a co-founder in our nonprofit or whatnot with us. And so we've been getting a whole bunch of things moving along with the nonprofit. And me and Katherine been talking about some of the events that we're trying to do out here in March when all the ZFT clicks up. That's our run club that all three of us are a part of as well. And so just doing some events, our first community event in March, and then also doing some other things as far as play goes or whatnot. So the creative mind and brain been working and thinking and ticking. So everything's been good for me. I just been in a good mental space as of late. So I'm on a high, a natural high. So I'm good.
But you still vegan? Or you still doing that? Or
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
how many days has it been so far?
21. I think I started on the 4th.
Yeah, salute to that. I'm actually doing a dry February. So no drinking, no hookah, no giving into anything that is flesh driven. So just pray for me because that's
I was doing a dry January, so I've been doing a
yeah.
dry January, but today is a cheat day.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or today is the end of my dryness, but I really ain't been thirsting for alcohol, liquor of any type. So I think I'm gonna stick with it consistently, unless it's like a social setting or a special occasion like a birthday or whatnot, or anything like that. But I haven't been hungering for alcohol at all.
Solid, that's solid. All right, we can go.
Congratulations on the new job, also, Spears.
Oh
Appreciate
yeah,
it. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna see my Cash App too. So yeah, I got two. Around money, boy. I tell you what. Yes, sir.
Nah, but I got y'all, especially when big things come a knocking. I definitely got y'all family, so I got y'all. Well, this week I'm going. This week we're talking about entrepreneurship, and we're talking about the risk, the rewards, the trial and error, the learning curves, the things that we as people need to know and sometimes we take for granted or overlook, but then also talking about the good things and the highs from entrepreneurship. And so that's why this week we have Katherine on, because she is an entrepreneur and she has her own business. So Kat, I'm gonna let you tell the people a little bit about yourself, a little bit about what you do. You could go even into your education, to what made you go into your career choice and your business choice, and just let people know, and then we'll come with a couple of questions and some dialogue for you.
Okay. Well, so I'll just give a little background. I've been in healthcare for a very long time. I was a CRA, well, a CNA in like high school. So I worked in like nursing homes. And then after high school, I went into nursing, and I did like medical assistant. So my associate's degree was in like medical assistant. So I did that. And for my bachelor's degree, it was in biology and organic chemistry, and majored in nursing. So I worked in ER nursing for about 7 years while I was in school, and then a few years, about 3 or 4 years afterwards. And then when I moved here to Dallas, that's when I transitioned to research, which is what I do now. I just got burned out in the emergency room. It's high pace, high energy, high stress. So you kind of get desensitized, and I was just really afraid that I was losing my empathy and my love for healthcare and, caring for people properly. So I wanted to just transition. So when I moved here, I was finishing up with my master's, which I have in public health. So I transitioned to research. So what I do now currently is, it's called a clinical research consultant, and I manage clinical trials. A clinical research consultant, they can manage trials directly for the pharmaceutical companies, the clinical research organizations, or directly with governing organizations like the FDA. So that's what I do independently now. When I transitioned to research, I worked for a company at the time. So they trained me, on the monitoring aspect of it, but obviously I had the clinical research background, the clinical background. So I just paired that with the research background, and that's what I do now. So a clinical research consultant is someone that manages the trial. We're going out and we're, touring the facilities, whether it's a hospital or a regular mom and pop doctor's office, to make sure that it's equipped with the staff and the equipment that the sponsors need to run that study. And it can be any study, whether it's a pill form medication, injection form medication. COVID right now is huge, so I'm sure there's clinical trials going on right now with COVID and different vaccines and things like that. The most important thing as the clinical research consultant is, the first and foremost, is subject safety. So we call them subjects, not patients. The next thing is data integrity. So making sure that the staff at the sites are collecting the data appropriately. They're following the protocol and the guidelines that the pharmaceutical companies outline for them. And lastly, is just making sure they're all compliant in different regulations, whether it's GCP, which is good clinical practice, IRBs, and of course the FDA. So there's a lot of oversight that's conducted on these sites, and as a monitor, we're just making sure that subjects are safe, the study is being ran appropriately and ethically, and yeah, let's go from there.
Okay, that's good news. That's good news. So My first question for you would be, besides being burnt out from the emergency room, what drove you to being an entrepreneur and going into business for yourself?
So when I transitioned from the clinical side to the research side, one of the nurses I worked with at the time mentioned it to me, and I'd never even heard of this position before. So, and the company, I looked up what it was, and I found a company that actually is down the street from my house, like miraculously. So I applied with them and I worked with them. They showed me like the research side of it. And what I found out was they're kind of like an intermediate between the pharmaceutical companies and the actual trial being ran at the site, right? So the pharmaceutical companies hire them to do the work for them, to kind of do the legwork, if you can say that. And they hire us to do that legwork. I found out that they could be charging the pharmaceutical companies maybe $200 an hour for us, right? But these companies are only paying us, let's say $50 an hour. So I found that out and I was like, well, y'all getting paid $200 an hour for me, but I'm only getting paid $50. So I found out, I'm not sure how I found out, through the grapevine or whatever, but they're like, oh, you can go out and contract independently by yourself, directly with the pharmaceutical companies. So I was like, okay. And it was another sister at one of the sites I was at, who worked independently. She reached out to me just being nice and told me that, oh, she works independently. So I asked her and I just inquired, like, how did you do that? What are the steps I need to take? And she just took me under her wing. She doesn't do it anymore, but she took me under her wing, let me know the processes that I needed to do. And I did that. I definitely took my time, and I'm sure you guys will ask about this later on, but it was definitely a process. I didn't do it right away. I kind of delayed maybe 2 or 3 years because I was apprehensive about it going out on my own. But yeah, that's pretty much how I transitioned. So basically, I'm just doing the same thing I was doing at the company, but doing it for myself and keeping more of the profit.
All right. My question for you would be is, I know you said you waited like 3 or 4 years because you wasn't comfortable. Like, I know a lot of times I talk to entrepreneurs that are like solely that they regret those 3 or 4 years that they actually held on to the job because they felt that they were still missing out on more money or other opportunities. Like, what is your thoughts? Like, I know you said you held on, but do you regret that at any point?
No, I don't, because it was beneficial to me because I got more experience under my belt. I was new to research. I wasn't new to the clinical side, but I was new to the research side. So I'm glad that I stayed on, got more experience under my belt on the research side of it, because it was less of a learning curve when I went out on my own. So the things that I kind of like bumped my head on as an entrepreneur was nothing to do with the research and the clinical side. It was more the business side, if that makes sense. So I'm glad I waited and got more experience with the monitoring aspect of it. So yeah, I don't regret it at all.
Fleck, do you have anything before I drop her another question?
You go ahead and drop another one, and I'll come after that.
So you just talked about the business side versus the actual work side. What of the business side do you appreciate or like besides the money? Because you just explained and told the people what you're really making now. So we could do the math and see that you're making some bread. But outside of the money, what on the business side do you like? And then what on the business side do you not like? And what would you tell future entrepreneurs to be mindful of when jumping into a business, just because they're thinking this is my passion or this is a career that I really want to do, but not really understanding the real trials or tribulations that come with the business part of it?
Okay, so I'm not a business savvy person. I'm not a finance. That's never been my thing. Like, I'd be counting on my fingers. Like, I'm not good with numbers and things like that. So in hindsight, one, I would have saved more money, because when I go out with the company, you have the security with a company card. every time I went out, I would just use the company card to charge up everything. Now I'm on my own. I got to use my own money. And I rack up sometimes $15,000 a month just on business trips, right? When you're not using your company card, you got to use your own card. So I was like, at the time, I didn't have a $15,000 limit on a credit card. So I was the first, I would say 3 to 6 months, I was hurting because you have to spend the money, right? And then submit it to get reimbursed from the sponsors. So I'm spending all this money. Yes, I'm getting reimbursed, but I wasn't getting reimbursed back in time. So it kind of took me a little bit to get liquid. And that's something I had to figure out. My friend Camille, who had showed me the ropes, I'm not sure why, but she conveniently, or maybe not maliciously, I'm sure, left that part out. So I didn't know. So I definitely had to, that was a learning curve and something that I definitely had to work through. And it helped me budget. It helped me like kind of tighten the belt a little bit because I had to make sure, okay, yes, I can pay my bills and I can also rack up all these expenses and wait to get paid from the sponsors. Because the first contract that I ever got, there was a 2-month delay. So I'm racking up $10,000 to $15,000 a month, and I'm not getting paid for that month for another 2 months, right? So yeah, they're paying me and I'm getting paid more money now. So I would see that go in the bank account, but then it would just, yeah, it wasn't adding up at first. So it took a little bit, but then once, you get that nice nest egg and then, put some in savings and then you just keep replenishing your business account and you get to exercise your credit cards very well, which is what I do. Because you just find a really good one with some cash back bonuses and different perks and things like that. You just exercise it and pay it back every month.
So I'm glad that you brought up, the bumps in the road and things like that you come across when jumping out on your own. I greatly appreciate that. Some people think jumping out on your own is supposed to just be smooth sailing because you don't see the grind in between. You just see the shine after the grind has taken place. So I greatly appreciate you sharing that. My question is, after you saw that happening and you seen that bump in the road, what gave you the motivating factor to keep going? It's your first month in, you're not getting as much money back in from the investors. You see $10,000. I'll be honest with you, some people gonna be like, oh no, this ain't for me. I done racked up all this money. I don't know when I'm gonna get reimbursed. I might lose my house, my apartment, my car, how I'm gonna pay bills. So you don't have to go to what you did to make sure you got all that paid, but what was that motivating factor that keep you from not feeling defeated and being like, you know what, I'm giving up. I'm going back to clocking in each day?
I have a strong work ethic and I don't like to like back down from a challenge. So I told myself I'm gonna do this, so I'm gonna do this. And I could see I knew like it was just gonna take a little bit of time to get that cash flow like where I needed it to be. So I literally had to just tighten my belt, but I could see the light at the end of the tunnel and I knew what it would look like because I projected it out. So I just had to just stick with it and not give up and just grind it out because I'm like, in the long run, it's gonna work out in my favor. I wish I would have saved up more to have that, or maybe applied for a credit card and gotten a higher, credit limit and have that at the time, but I didn't do that. So that was my bad. So that's why I had those issues in the beginning, but I definitely knew like this is going to benefit me, so I'm going to keep with it.
Okay. One more question real quick.
Sure.
As some people know, well, I'd explain you, but some people know that I do comedy. So I want to know what you feel about this statement right here from a great Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac said, for you to be successful as an entrepreneur, you cannot be afraid to fail. What do you feel about that statement? And are you afraid to fail?
Heck yeah, I'm afraid to fail all the time, but I just do it afraid. Just do it afraid because, yeah, you just got to do it afraid because it's either that or just kick yourself in the butt for not doing it or doing the, oh, I wish, or I shoulda, woulda, coulda, doing all that. And I'm not doing that. So I'd rather just do it afraid because I know as afraid as I am, that's like the success on the other end of that is going to be tenfold. So yeah, it's been a million times. Like I've been stressed, I've been overworked, I've cried on a plane, like just, it's been, no, seriously. And people are looking at me like, because I haven't slept in 2 days, I've been off more than, you know what I mean? And I'm like, my heel broke. Somebody, you know what I mean? Like I left my laptop at home and I'm in another state now, almost got on the wrong plane. There's been just so many different things that, and it humbles you because you in that by yourself and you can't run to nobody else. You don't have a company backing you up. You can't call a number. You know what I mean? It's just you in the business. And you find a way out.
Okay, now, Kat, don't be scaring future entrepreneurs. So what I need you to
That's information they need to know, though.
no, it very so is. But what I do need you to do, or could you do for us, is talk about, and I think that you was hinting at it, but didn't say it, the freedom that it gives you, the liberty that you have in working for yourself, and that's probably part of the reason why you continue to push forward and press through and strive for your greatness. So talk about that part of it as well, because again, I don't want people to feel like, dang, she's right. I don't have a company behind me. I don't have nobody that I could call and lean on. It's just me by myself. I don't want to go through this. Talk about the flip side of that. So then therefore people can see also the beauty and the joy in pressing through and keep going even when it does get dark and it seems like you down and out.
So okay, with regards to the company, having a company behind you, when you have a company behind you, of course you have the funds, you have, you know, the HRs, you have the paid vacations, things like that, but then you also have the eyes. Okay, the people checking and making sure you log in at 8:30, the people making sure you don't log out until 4:30 or whatever time that's set. The managers and the manager's manager checking for you, right? The meetings, the monotonous trainings that are unnecessary, the meetings that could be emails. Did I say micromanaging? If I did, I just need to say it one more time because the micromanaging is one of the worst things as a clinical research associate. So being an entrepreneur and working directly, you know, with the sponsors and the companies, you don't have all that. Yes, you have deadlines, you have timelines that you have to meet, you know the work that you have to do and you know when it needs to be done by. And it's a blessing and a curse just to have that freedom to manage your own time. Now it will bite you in the butt because if you don't manage your time properly, everything piles up and then that's when you end up having nervous breakdowns in airport bathrooms because, you know what I mean, everything piled up on you. So having the freedom to, you know, if I want to work 5 days a week for 3 weeks and take off a month because I'm tired, I can do that. You know, I can just let them know, hey, I'm not available between this date and this date. Don't call me, don't email me, don't text me. You know, that's my time for me. I also have the times where they have my personal cell phone. So if they want to call me at 10 o'clock at night, they can. When I was at the company, that was out of company policy. You didn't do that. So it's give and take, you know, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a double-edged sword, but it is what you make it. You set those boundaries, you make sure you meet deadlines, and they don't really, as long as you're meeting your deadlines and your deliverables, they don't really check for me like that. So you just keep a good rapport. My big thing is I like to turn things in early to give myself a little grace period in case something comes up. So I don't end up missing deadlines. But yeah, that's a big freedom, not having somebody hover over you all the time and not having to make sure you wake up and sign into your laptop because somebody's looking to see what time you signed in, little things like that. One of the downfalls was, okay, COVID happened, right? Almost a year. So March of last year, when COVID hit and all the traveling stopped, I was shook, like, because most of my work requires me to get on a plane and travel to the site. So now I can't do that. So I was like, oh, okay, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to make a living? Well, you just got to pivot. And I ended up just doing everything remotely. But that's something that maybe if people did want to go out on their own and do what I'm doing, they would have been scared because they're like, oh, if I can't travel, I can't work. And if I can't work, I don't make any money, and then I can't, pay my bills. And I did have that little stress for a split second, okay, more like a week or so. But then, everything worked out. So, and last year ended up being my best year. I don't like to say that because I feel like I'm bragging, but it ended up being my best year, even with not traveling from March to June. So, the traveling is one of the biggest perks for me, being able to travel and work wherever I want to. It's just as long as I have Wi-Fi and my laptop and my phone, I'm good to go.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure you mentioned it. How long have you been doing this independently?
I went out on my own January 2018.
Okay. So I find it hard to believe that you're still doing it out of fear, but I will ask you this, like, most people get into entrepreneurship because, like Flake said, they see the grind before they see they see the shine before they see the grind, right? But if it wasn't something that you were very passionate about, do you think the profit could have outweighed it, especially when it's a startup process? Like, I think that's important. My question is, I just want people to, like, even for myself, is make sure you're passionate about it, not just because it's profitable. Because as you stated, it's not as peaches and cream the first 3 or 6 months. So how did your passion keep it from, you worrying about the profit?
Because I'm determined, and I'm okay with going through roughing it out if I know, like, hey, at the end of the day, if I go through this is going to be the end result. I'm fine with that. And even sometimes, it was really dark to where, like, oh, I really can't see the light, but you know what? I'm gonna go by faith, and I already know that if I put in the time and the hard work, then it's gonna work out in my favor. And I have a lot of none of them, because the CRAs that I worked with at the time, and a lot of them were Black. And I love seeing that because it was so many of us in the office, and I wanted them to follow me, and they all thought I was crazy. They're like, because we were salary, right? We had a set income. They're like, because we were making good money at the company. I'm not gonna lie, we were. And we had good benefits, healthcare, all that, and a set, like, how much money you're gonna make every single month for a year at a time. We had bonuses at the end of each year. They're like, you're crazy for going out on your own, because what if something happens, or what if you get fired, and what if this, and what if that? And it was so many what ifs, but I was like, no, I'm gonna, you know what I mean? I'm gonna do it. And I did it, and they're looking like, oh, I should do it, or I should have done it, and they're just not at the point where they're ready to just step out and do it on their own yet. They have come to me and be like, well, can I just work with you, and you put me under, your company name and things like that. But I'm not a big believer of working with friends. So I love you as a friend, but I can't do business with you. So yeah, maybe down the line, I can get some people to work with me or under me, you know what I mean, on the company, and just expand a little bit. But I'm kind of happy where I'm right now. So yeah, that's something that's on the table, but I'm not working towards it yet.
Okay, and this is my last question in regards to this topic. How did you block out the naysayers, the what if, or you're crazy, or this can't happen, why would you leave this? Like, how did you really block it out?
I've been hearing them all my life. And most of them was in my house, in my family. Okay. So I've never let that discourage me. If anything, I let that drive me. As soon as you tell me I can't do something, I bet I'm gonna do it. So that's fine.
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
Well, make sure you lift that weight tomorrow, because I don't think you can. Yeah, make sure you lift that weight tomorrow.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But Flake, you got anything? Okay, well, I'm gonna keep going. So honestly and realistically, Katherine, how much did the money impact you to jumping into it? Because if I can if I can remember correctly, I know you said the companies was making anywhere from 200 an hour, billable hours on y'all, and they was only paying y'all 50. So attaining that knowledge, being in that background, and it's doing something that you want to do, how much of a factor did that make you say, I'm gonna take this leap of faith and be like, okay, this is something that I'm gonna do because I can make 200 an hour versus $50 an hour, and that could be all mine, and then I could do what I want with it and have the freedom to, like you said, not answer nobody or be micromanaged.
Yeah, and I just threw, those are like rough numbers. Those are not exact numbers. So I don't want y'all to think I'm making $200 an hour because I'm not. But that's just numbers that I'm throwing out there. It was a combination of the time and the money. So like having a 40-50% pay increase, I mean, that ain't gonna hurt at all. You know what I mean? And then the time, the freedom of it, to manage yourself and your time and your projects how you want to be. So that was, those are the two big appeals to me, because the work is still the same, right? I'm still doing the same thing. I'm still, the site management, things like that. It's just, you have the weight lifted off of somebody, breathing down your neck and things like that. Yeah, there's meetings and things like that, but there's nowhere near as many meetings as I attended when I was at, corporate setting, because, they love their meetings and their emails and things like that.
So since in a corporate setting, shit rolls downhill. So, your boss gets something, then comes to you about something. Since you are your own boss and since you work by yourself, how does that dynamic work with getting something from the people that you essentially work for? Because even though you have your own business, you're still working for somebody to meet their need. So then how does that work, being that direct point of contact and getting the information? Is that part frustrating, or is it, like you said, within your house, somebody telling you that you either need to step your game up or even giving you praise and saying you're doing a wonderful job? Is that just something that feeds you, whether it's good or positive feedback from the site that you're actually working for? Or
Okay, so that's a good question. So there's two sides to it, or two dynamics to it. The sponsors, the pharmaceutical companies, those are the ones that are like, hey, we're gonna hire you on, or gonna contract you to run the study for us. And then you have the site personnel. So they're like, hey, this is the protocol, this is what we need them to follow. We need you to implement this at the site. My big thing with them is I'm not going to use the word over communicate, but I just make sure I always keep them in the loop. I anticipate their needs. So, they don't require it, but I do touch base calls with my site every week, every 2 weeks, and give the sponsor an update. They didn't ask me to do that, but I did that. And they loved it so much that they're asking other people to do that, because then they won't have to ask me nothing, right? If I'm giving them the information that I think they might need, or relevant information, and keeping them in the loop all the time, then they don't need to reach out to me, right? They don't need to email me or whatever, because they know at this time and this date and this time, Kat's gonna give me an update on this site, the same thing with the next day, and so on and so forth. So my biggest thing is anticipate knowing their needs, and then anticipating what they might need that they don't know that they need yet, and give that to them. Now with the sites, I kind of like working independently, because it's like I don't get in trouble with the sites, because the sites can go back and tell the sponsor, the company that I worked for at the time, like, oh, I don't like the CRA, da 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 da. They can say that if they want to. And literally, it was an incident, it was a couple weeks ago, and she came in, she was one of the site personnel. They're like, oh, this person needs to be trained. I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is not something I could take care of her. Well, why not? And I'm looking at her like, and in my head, I'm like, girl, I don't work for you. So one, you can't talk to me like that. But she talked to everybody like that. She talks to all her staff like that. But having that knowledge to know that, hey, I can stand up for myself and hold my ground, and there's nothing this lady can do about it, it's a good feeling to say that. And yeah, she can go back to the sponsor. They're going to be like, okay, whatever, because they know I'm doing a good job, and they're, you know, study driven and revenue driven. They're not pettiness driven. Whereas if I was still at the company, there'd be HR, you know, introduced into this, and then they'd have to do an investigation and we have to have a meeting and get everybody's side of the story. But you don't have all that, you know what I mean, other stuff. So, then there's one thing else I wanted to share with you, and it just blew out of my mind. I forgot it. But yeah, so that's a good side of it. Just anticipate their needs, give them what they want. So you're always one step ahead.
So, and fellas, if y'all have any questions, just jump right in and chime in. But my question for you is, so is the demand not great enough for you right now to hire somebody else or to hire people? Or is it that you just feel more comfortable working by yourself and then therefore not having to be a micromanager or overseer and have to go fix people's problems, so to speak, part of the reason why you're still independently working, period, just alone by yourself?
I like, the appeal to me is only being responsible for myself. That's what I like right now. I only got, if I don't want to work tomorrow, I'm not gonna work tomorrow. And I'll just reschedule when I need to reschedule. If I'm working, if I have other people underneath me, I'm not gonna be able to do that. If I want to take next month off and fly to Tahiti somewhere, I could do that right now. I can't do that if I have other. So I feel like that's, having people under me is gonna limit me, at least for a little while, until we get everything settled. So I would have to find somebody or people that, it would just take, I think the process, yeah, it would just take a while to find somebody that I would feel comfortable enough to like leave the reins in their hands and go off and do what I wanted to do at the time and not worry about it being done, because it's going to be under my name. It's K. Allen Consulting, right? So if anything happens, it's going to fall back on me. And that's just something that I need to sit with and be okay with before I take that leap of faith and hire people.
All right. This is my last question for you. How does it really feel to make your damn money, do what the hell you want to do, pop your shit, and ain't got to answer no question to nobody? Like, honestly, how does it feel? Like, tell the people that. That's what I want to know.
It feels great.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. It feels amazing, especially if somebody, I've been working since I was like 13 and a half in a grocery store. I had to get my mom and my principal to sign off on my work permit to work. And now I'm a worker, I'm a hard worker, multiple jobs at a time. And I'm glad that I had those experiences earlier on in my life, because now I can appreciate it more. So when people, you know, make their little comments like, oh, you know, you live your best life, like, no, like I worked to get to where I am now. And it's appealing for me, but it's not for everybody. You know, it works for me and I'm happy doing it. I'm over the moon about it and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Flake. You got any questions?
Yeah, we got time. I was wondering, I know she had mentioned a sponsor a couple of times. And if you explained it, I apologize. I had some technical difficulties with my headphones, so I missed a little bit. But I kind of got an idea of what a sponsor is, but could you explain it to, you know, somebody out there that might not completely understand? They think like, when she says she worked for her own, but she keep mentioning this sponsor person is popping up here.
Oh, so yeah. Yeah, it's just the industry term for like the pharmaceutical companies. So we could use them interchangeable. So those are your Abbotts, your Pfizers, you know what I mean? Your big name companies like that, your Merck, so Amgen. So you have biopharmaceutical companies, biochem companies. Yeah, those are the sponsors because they're sponsoring the study in a sense, because they're the ones that are going to be, you know, paying the subjects, paying the sites, paying me. Yeah. And then you have like the regulatory agencies, which are the FDAs, the IRBs, the GCPs. Those are all acronyms. Those are like the overseers to making sure that, one, the sponsor is doing everything that they're supposed to do within ethical guidelines. I am, and the site is. Yep. And when I say site, I mean like the hospital or the doctor's office where the studies are being ran.
Okay, appreciate that.
No problem.
Well, fellas, do y'all have any more questions for Katherine? Because if not, I'm gonna let her do one half of the Black Business Minute and just talk her shit and, you know, market herself and her company. And then also I have something else for the Black Business Minute as well. So if not, we could jump right into that and close it off. But if y'all do have more questions, feel free to ask.
No, I don't have any questions, but thank you, Kat, for joining. But even more thanks to the impact that I know this conversation will have, especially on our, you know, our kings as well, but definitely to the queens. It's good to see a Black woman that isn't scared to jump out, especially in like a medical field where a lot of people would try to hold on to like the corporate look. It just feels way better. But thank you for your courage. Thank you for the impact. And thank you for joining the episode today.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, no more questions needed. I greatly, like I stated before, I greatly appreciate you coming on and giving the true background. There's gonna be some days where you're gonna cry. There's gonna be some days you're gonna be frustrated. There's gonna be some days when you feel like giving up, but you keep that motivation going to keep grinding each day so you can shine. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I would just say, I'll piggyback on what they said and repeat what they said. We appreciate you for coming on. We appreciate the example that you are out in this world and the light that you're being, not just for Black people, Black women, young Black women or anything, but just the example that you're being as a human being and as a person and as somebody walking this earth. Because again, from what you said and just from the knowledge that we all have knowing, it's not easy doing what you do. And it's not easy not living in fear and taking a leap of faith to do something that could be beneficial or that could eventually fail, because all businesses do not succeed. But that doesn't mean that if you have the heart for it or whatever, that you don't persevere and keep fighting. So we appreciate you for your strength, for your courage, like Rose said, for your dedication and your determination, for just being a light and a pillar in this world. Because there's a study that I researched and going on, there's only 5% of the world that are entrepreneurs, that are business owners, that do their own thing, work for themselves, are their own boss. 5% out of 8 billion people, or close to 8 billion people. That is a remarkable percentage when you just break down the numbers. So for you to be one of those 5%ers, we applaud you, we salute you, and we appreciate you. So again, I know you listen to the podcast, but every week we do something called Black Business Minute, and we just give a shout out to a Black business. And so since you are a business owner, we're gonna allow you to take your time to talk your shit, to do your thing, and to just you know, if there are some sponsors out there, you know, that listen to our podcast, because we're trying to reach all platforms. Hey, you got somebody good here that you could call and contact. So, Kat.
So my company name is K. Allen Consulting. The website is kallenconsultingllc.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn by my full name, Katherine Allen. Expert clinical research management is my slogan for all your clinical research monitoring needs. That's pretty much my little spiel that I have.
Okay. We appreciate you, Kat. And then for the other Black Business Minute, this one's gonna be a little non-traditional in a sense, because it's not necessarily a business. But I was in the library today and I was walking around and just looking at different books or whatever, because I am an avid reader, even though during COVID I fell off a little bit, but I am an avid reader. And when I was walking around, I seen plethora of many different varieties of Black excellence written by Black authors. And so I just want to salute some of these Black authors that I've seen and say some of the names of the books that I've seen. So then, therefore, if you are an avid reader like myself, if you are in a book club, or if you just like reading on your own, these are some books that you may know of or may not know of that I feel like should be on your hot list to read. So first, we're going to start with This is America, a novel by Kim Johnson. And so I'm not even going to give a synopsis. I'm just going to give it the title. This is America, a novel by Kim Johnson. We also got Dear Justice, which is the sequel to Dear Martin, and that is by Nick Stone. And I read Dear Martin personally, so I'm definitely going to read Dear Justice. Dear Martin was a great book, so I encourage you to check that one out before you read Dear Justice, because, again, that was a great book. We have The Beautiful Struggle, and that's by, I hope I pronounce his name right, because I say it wrong sometimes, then I say it right, Ta-Nehisi Coates, and that's a new memoir by him. And so I know everybody knows Ta-Nehisi Coates now because he's had the documentary special on HBO Max or HBO. He also had which was Between the World and Me, which was a book that he wrote for his son or whatnot. He also wrote The Water Dancer, his first novel, which is a great book, and I read both Between the World and Me and that. And so I can only expect nothing but excellence from this, The Beautiful Struggle. And again, this, I'm just gonna stop right there. But it's about our plight and what we go through, the beautiful struggle. So I would encourage y'all to read that. Another book is A Song of Race and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. And so that's just another book that looked deep and powerful just from the book cover, but then also majestic. And when you read the synopsis and you see the backstory, we also have A Black Friend on Being a Better White Person. So it's by Frederick Joseph, but it's a whole bunch of different Black authors in there. So like we have Jamel Hill in there. We have who else is in there? We have Angie Thomas in there telling their side of what it is to be Black, but then also telling the side of what white people could do just to be better people to Black people. So I would encourage Black people to read that because I'm definitely gonna get it. That's The Black Friend on Being a Better White Person, by Frederick Joseph. We have Punch in the Air by E.B. Zoboy and Yusuf Salam. We also have When You Look Like Us by Pamela N. Harris. We have Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas, and that is supposed to be the sequel to The Hate You Give. So I just encourage y'all to go check out these books and to go into your local bookstores or look on Amazon and online and just Google current Black authors so we could support them, so we could give them the recognition that they deserve, but then also so we can see the beauty and the diaspora and the non-monolithic ways of Black people, because we all have different stories that are trying to be told, that we're trying to share. We all have different perspectives. So I would just say, go out there and support our Black authors. And that's it for the Black Business Minute.
Can I add something?
Go ahead.
Go get these books at a Black-owned bookstore. Put the money back in the Black community.
We agree with that.
All right, for our supremely persons of the week is going to be all of my entrepreneurs out there, every last one of our Black entrepreneurs out there that's going through the struggle, that has been denied plenty of times from loans to getting leases on buildings, things of that nature. For all those who, they said you couldn't do it and you crazy for going out there and flying on your own to do what you got to do. As Steve Harvey say, you'll never fly if you never get off the ground. So sometimes you got to get out there and fly and see where you're gonna land at and where you're gonna be, and it might be a successful spot for you. And if you do fail, like Aaliyah said, if you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again and keep on moving. Never give up. So I like to give a big shout out to all our entrepreneurs out there. You are Supreme Black Persons of the Week. And we support y'all 100% here at the Supremely Black Podcast. And we appreciate y'all. We love y'all to keep that Black dollar floating in our community as much as possible, because It don't regulate in our community long at this point in time. But we gonna get back. We gonna get back there where that dollar circulating multiple times before it leave our community. So big shout out to all our Black entrepreneurs out there. You are a supremely Black persons of the week.
And Aaliyah also said, "Rock the boat." So rock that motherfucker. We trying to change the world, and we trying to make sure that our story, our history, and who we are is just as prevalent as their systemic BS. So rock that boat.
Yes, sir. So y'all got anything else to say before we close this thing out?
I just want to tell the people, because we always try to leave them with something. Be fearless. Don't be afraid. Do or strive or research, even if it starts with research. Like Kat said, 2 to 3 years it took her before she took that leap of faith, and that's where she learned the knowledge, the wisdom, the wherewithal to do what she's doing now. So if it just starts with research and that research takes you a couple months, be fearless and go after your dreams and live the life that you was intended to live. Be an entrepreneur, be free, and be excellent. But also realize entrepreneurship ain't for everybody. Some people are workers and some people aren't. So keep that in mind as well. Tell the truth to yourself. And that's what I'll leave them with.
I just leave it with support Black-owned businesses. That's it.
Straight to the point. Kat, you like to leave people anything before we close it out?
I think I'm feeling this from Will Smith, but just do it afraid. If you're afraid, it's fine. Just do it afraid, but just do it.
Because if you never do it, you'll never know.
Never.
For all my queens out there, put your crown on, tilt that thing to the side. Let them know you are a queen. For all my kings out there, put your crown on, tilt that thing to the side, let them know you are a king. And let them know we are not 3/5 of anything. We are 100% supremely Black humans. Thank y'all. Y'all have a wonderful night.
Bye.